So here begins the 90-minute timer for the O.C. Writes essay, right? So what I want to do is as soon as I open my packet, I see that I have a passage here by Henry David Thoreau. Now, I could stop and read this. However, I don't want to at this point. What I want to do is I want to keep flipping until I find my prompt, because the first thing I'm going to do is attack the prompt. I'm going to pull this prompt apart and see what it is that I need to do exactly. Now, if you paid attention in the recent weeks in your English class, you were taught to deconstruct the prompt as follows. You want to look through the prompt and figure out where your verbs are. Okay? So as I read through this, write, I know I can write, so that's a verb, right? Write an explanatory essay in which you compare and contrast. Well, I can both compare and contrast. So those are both verbs. Now, the reason I don't circle them separately is because, generally speaking, there's not really a difference between compare and contrast. If you're looking at similarities and differences, you're comparing. If you're contrasting, you're just looking at differences. So I normally just lump those together. How each author develops. Now, develops is a verb, right? But it's not talking about me. It's talking about what the author can do. So I'm going to leave that one alone. How each author develops central ideas about self-discipline and an individual's relationship to the community as ways to live a good life. Okay? Now, that's the prompt. I've got my verbs. There's only two there. So that's not too bad. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to underline the content that I have to address. So write an explanatory essay, right? That's what I'm actually having to do, in which you compare and contrast how each author develops central ideas. Okay? Now, that central ideas part is going to be critical for me, and particularly about self-discipline and the individual's relationship to the community as ways to live a good life. Okay? So, if I use the planning matrix that we went over in English classes this last week, what I would do is I would make a quick little chart here, and I'm going to put my verbs and I'm going to put my tasks over here. And so here I write what it is that I have to do. So I'm writing an explanatory essay. I'm just going to write X because I know what it means, and you need to get in the habit of trying to abbreviate in order to save yourself some time here. So, and then finally, I'm going to compare and contrast, that's C and C, if you don't recognize it, how the author develops central ideas. So and I also need to talk about self-discipline and the individual's relationship to the community as it pertains to the good life. So, interesting fact, if you're applying to the University of Florida this year, they actually have a very similar essay regarding the good life. So, kind of makes you wonder. Anyway, I have now pulled my part of prompt. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm writing an explanatory essay that compares and contrasts the author's central ideas about self-discipline, the individual and the community, and then finally the good life, right? So 1, 2, and 3 sounds pretty easy to me. I've got my central paragraphs there, right? My body paragraphs. That could be one way that I structure this. So I need to consider that as I go on. That's it for attacking the prompt. That took me just a couple of minutes, and it's going to save me a lot of work in the long run. So be careful, right? Make sure that you're spending the time to do this.